Doha, Qatar, September 30th, 2025. In a calm yet firm tone, Qatar's Foreign Ministry spokesman Majed al-Ansari addressed reporters in Doha, laying out his country's response to fresh security guarantees offered by the United States and an unprecedented assurance from Israel. The statement came less than 24 hours after a high-level phone call involving US President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, a call that appears to have shifted the tense security equation for the Gulf state. The press conference reflected both relief and caution. With cameras rolling, al-Ansari made clear that Qatar's focus was not on words of regret, but on concrete steps to prevent future threats. The issue at stake was Qatar's national security after recent tensions had brought Doha into the crosshairs of regional conflict. Majed al-Ansari opened his remarks with a decisive acknowledgement of the call's significance. Majed al-Ansari said, "The security assurances and the commitments that were offered in the call yesterday by President Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister were very clear and were under the guarantee of the US President that Qatar will never be attacked again." His use of the word guarantee underscored the seriousness of the commitment. It was a rare moment when a Gulf state publicly invoked a US presidential guarantee as a shield against potential attacks, reflecting the fragile nature of regional dynamics. For months, Qatar had been navigating a delicate diplomatic balance, maintaining dialogue with regional neighbours while positioning itself as a mediator in conflicts such as the war in Gaza. The country's role has often placed it in the middle of disputes and sometimes at risk of being caught in the crossfire. Al-Ansari acknowledged that the call had gone a long way in addressing Qatar's immediate security concerns. He added, "We are content with the security assurances that we have received, and regardless of accepting the apology or not, our main focus is on making sure that this never happens again, and I think this is what transpired yesterday from the call." The statement reflected a shift in tone, away from outrage over past incidents and toward a pragmatic approach aimed at preventing future escalation. For Qatar, which prides itself on playing a stabilizing role in regional diplomacy, the assurance appeared to offer a measure of relief. The press conference was held in Doha's Foreign Ministry building, where the country's diplomatic corps frequently addresses both domestic and international audiences. Reporters noted the measured yet resolute demeanour of al-Ansari as he responded to questions, carefully balancing acknowledgement of the US and Israeli commitments with a subtle reminder of the risks that had led to this point. The background to this episode traces back to recent military operations that created alarm in Doha. While the details were not discussed in full at the press conference, it was widely understood that Qatar's concerns stemmed from incidents that had heightened the sense of vulnerability in the small but strategically important Gulf nation. The phone call, arranged urgently the previous day, appears to have been designed to calm these fears. US President Trump, known for his direct personal style, reportedly offered his commitment in unequivocal terms. Netanyahu's participation further underscored the effort to restore trust and prevent further deterioration in relations. Analysts observing the developments say that Qatar's decision to publicly welcome the assurances marks an important diplomatic moment. It reflects a convergence of interest between Washington, Tel Aviv and Doha at a time when regional conflicts, especially the prolonged violence in Gaza, have created fault lines that threaten broader instability. During the press conference, al-Ansari avoided inflammatory language and refrained from dwelling on the details of the incidents that had prompted the call. Instead, his emphasis remained on the future. This focus, observers say, is consistent with Qatar's traditional foreign policy posture, projecting itself as a responsible regional player committed to de-escalation. Al-Ansari's words also hinted at Qatar's expectation that commitments made by powerful allies must translate into action. His careful framing, focusing on prevention rather than grievance, suggested that Qatar views the recent assurances not merely as diplomatic gestures, but as practical steps that should have tangible security implications. Diplomatic experts in Doha have noted that Qatar's public reaction is significant for several reasons. First, it signals a willingness to maintain constructive engagement with Washington and Tel Aviv, even amid regional tensions. Second, it underscores Qatar's determination to prioritize the safety of its citizens above political point scoring. And third, it reaffirms Qatar's role as a state seeking stability in an often volatile neighborhood. The fact that the assurances came in the form of a joint message from the US President and the Israeli Prime Minister is itself noteworthy. For decades, relations between Israel and many Gulf states were either hostile or non-existent. In recent years, however, there has been a gradual, though still fragile, thawing of ties, driven in part by shifting geopolitical realities. Qatar's position has often been distinctive within the Gulf Cooperation Council, with Doha pursuing an independent foreign policy that includes maintaining channels of communication with a range of regional actors. This independence has sometimes put Qatar at odds with its neighbours, but has also allowed it to serve as a mediator in conflicts. The incident that led to the phone call served as a reminder that such a position carries risks. While al-Ansari did not spell out whether the assurances were linked to any specific military actions, regional analysts say the timing points to recent escalations in Gaza and their ripple effects across the Middle East. For Qatar, which has often played a key role in humanitarian and political efforts related to Gaza, being drawn into the conflict directly would mark a dangerous shift. The guarantees received from Washington and Tel Aviv thus appear aimed at preserving Qatar's neutral mediating role rather than allowing it to become a party to the conflict. As the press conference drew to a close, al-Ansari's remarks resonated with a sense of cautious optimism. While he acknowledged the assurances, he made it clear that the ultimate test would be in their implementation. For Doha, the goal is not merely the receipt of apologies or statements, but the establishment of lasting security conditions. The diplomatic choreography of the last 24 hours reflects both the volatility of the region and the importance of sustained dialogue. In a region where mistrust often runs deep and historical grievances weigh heavily, even a single phone call involving senior leaders can have outsized implications. In this instance, the call appears to have averted an immediate security crisis and set the stage for further diplomatic engagement. Whether it leads to durable assurances and a reduction of tensions remains to be seen. Qatar's response, measured, focused on prevention and publicly appreciative of the assurances, suggests that Doha is keen to move past the immediate tensions. Yet the underlying dynamics that prompted the episode remain complex, shaped by ongoing conflicts, rivalries and shifting alliances. Observers in Doha and beyond will be watching closely to see if the guarantees translate into practical security arrangements and whether the tone of cooperation can be sustained amid future challenges. For now, at least, the public message from Qatar's foreign ministry carries a note of calm reassurance. By emphasizing the preventive aspect of the call and prioritizing stability over recrimination, Doha has signalled that it sees the assurances as a meaningful step toward a more secure future. The significance of Majed al-Ansari's words lies in their framing, not as a capitulation to external powers, but as a pragmatic acceptance of steps necessary to safeguard Qatar's security. We are content with the security assurances that we have received, he reiterated, underscoring a sense of cautious satisfaction without declaring the issue fully resolved. In a region where trust is often scarce and where the stakes of miscalculation are high, such words, spoken publicly by a senior official, carry weight. They suggest that Qatar is prepared to move forward constructively while holding its partners to their commitments. As the press corps filed out of the Foreign Ministry building, there was a sense that a potentially dangerous escalation had been diffused, at least for the moment. The day's events served as a reminder that in the Middle East's intricate web of rivalries and alliances, diplomacy often hinges not just on grand summits, but on timely interventions and credible assurances. For Qatar, the episode reinforced both the value and the vulnerability of its diplomatic approach, engaging with all sides while relying on external guarantees to maintain its security. For the US and Israel, the call underscored their recognition of Qatar's role in the region and the need to reassure a key interlocutor at a time of ongoing conflict. In the final analysis, the press conference in Doha conveyed not only a message of reassurance, but also a subtle appeal for continued vigilance. By highlighting the importance of preventing future incidents, Majed al-Ansari underscored the ongoing nature of the challenge, ensuring that yesterday's commitments become tomorrow's reality.
The security assurances and the commitments that were offered in the call yesterday by President Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister were very clear and were under the guarantee of the US President that Qatar will never be attacked again. We are content with the security assurances that we have received, and regardless of accepting the apology or not, our main focus is on making sure that this never happens again. I think this is what transpired yesterday from the call.